another episode of Beating Alpha. This is episode 111 with very special guests. So a little bit of background and things that he's working on, and his name is Austin Hartley. So he went to Colorado State University professionally and is an experienced real estate broker and investor, as well as a podcast host with a mission statement of impact, influence, and ignite the lives around you. That's a good statement. Austin aims to help others to create a passion-filled life and to achieve time and a financial freedom for themselves. Austin started the Passion First podcast. Of course, you can find that on YouTube, iTunes, and make sure to subscribe to that. So where he shares experience, knowledge, tools, and systems of successful investors, business owners, and entrepreneurs that have also taken risks to follow their dreams to help others to do the same. Along with the podcast, Austin also produces online courses to help educate people on everything from real estate, travel, real estate investing, and podcasting. Very interesting. Austin has been featured on CBS, Yahoo, Fox, New York Weekly, as well as the numerous notable podcasts. Personally, he is former college athlete and loves fitness, Star Wars, and is an active in his community and church. So quite a few things to mention. And of course, you can connect with him on a website, LinkedIn, Facebook, podcast, YouTube. I mean, the whole entire bit I have here in front of me. So all those links are going to be down below. So make sure to follow up and ask Austin some great questions. But I'm sure we're going to cover a lot today on the show. So Austin, it's a pleasure to get you on the show. I think it's going to be a great time.
Thanks so much for having me. I need to shorten that bio. It's a little long there, but yeah.
Yeah, my mouth got dry a little bit while talking, and my mind just froze up because we do all these shows in one day. But it's awesome to have you on today, and I know we're going to cover a lot of great things. So, and I'm sure like Star Wars fans will get some great information too, maybe. So, so look again, Colorado State University, right? So. And you're a broker currently. So can we go kind of to the past and then probably the kind of beginning stages? Like, what was there some sort of an event or a person that kind of influenced you to follow this path?
So I played college basketball, ended up going to CSU where I studied real estate and finance. And originally, I always had a heart of helping people become more financially literate. So I thought I wanted to be a financial planner. I actually did some internships in college and decided that isn't what I wanted to do. It wasn't quite hitting the normal middle class individuals, helping wealthy people stay wealthy as my experience and my internship. And so I started thinking, okay, maybe I don't want to do that. I dabbled in becoming a commercial pilot for a little while after I graduated. And my dad is actually a managing broker. We're now partnered together. But I always told myself I never wanted to do what my dad did. I wanted to do something else. But it's funny. Your parents actually have some wisdom. And oftentimes if you end up listening to them, they have some good advice to share. And what was really important to me was finding a balance where I could work as much as I wanted. I'm a hard worker, but I wanted to be in control of my own time. I wanted to do something where I could make a lot of money, but I could have some flexibility in my schedule. And surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, real estate is one of the best industries for that. And I decided I was really keen into the real estate investing side of things. But I've bounced around for about 5 years now, from everything from land development, new construction, commercial real estate, residential, everything from mobile homes all the way up to multi-million-dollar luxury listings. And so have had the real gambit, but now I'm a licensed real estate broker partnered with my dad. We're based in Denver, Colorado with the Hartley Team Realty that's quickly expanding. And I'll leave it there.
That's very cool. So again, kind of your dad was one of the influencers that that put you on the track to become a real estate broker, right? So which is cool.
Absolutely.
Like, can you talk about, because I'm sure like your answer would benefit greatly a lot of people. Again, like it's you and your dad who building the business, but I know there's a lot of couples who getting involved. Yep. I think that could be valuable too. So like, how do you go about like on a day-to-day basis when it comes to the like sales and just managing and growing the business without, having too many headaches? Is there some sort of a strategy so we can get along like nicely? you know?
Yeah, really good question. Something that I'm absolutely still working on, not an expert at all, but have learned a massive amount is with a partner or even your own business, looking at the business as a business, not necessarily as a technician job. I think a lot of people get googly eyes with the idea of owning your own business, being an entrepreneur, getting into real estate investing. But then once they do it, instead of creating freedom for themselves, they've become a slave to this job because they don't have PTO, they don't have the support and infrastructure. So it's really important is to create departments in your business. That might be 2, that might be 4, 6, 10, whatever that is for you. And then create the actual procedures and jobs that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. And when you're first starting out, that's just going to be you. It might be you and your partner that are doing these jobs. But we each have, in my opinion, God-given strengths that we're just talented at, we're great at. And we have weaknesses as well. I love being around people. I love talking to people. I love visionary and building systems and creating procedures and kind of that overall management of things. I'm terrible at grammar and contracts and a lot of that detail-oriented work. So my dad, with his experience, is phenomenal with some of that more detailed contract work, more the negotiation side of thing, kind of the day-to-day management of transactions. So he really focuses on that, where my strength is more team building, scaling, advertising, brand building. So we complement each other's weaknesses and really kind of focus on our departments. I'd say that would be my big recommendation. Get very clear on what jobs are actually a part of your business, what needs to be done on a day-to-day basis. Get that in writing into procedures and checklists, and then start hiring the activities that you hate doing or you're not very good at first. Okay, get those out of the way first, and you focus on your strengths. And with your partner and spouse, hopefully you guys complement each other. If you have the same strengths, you're going to need to outsource those first hires, but that would be my recommendation.
Got it. And thank you for sharing that in a very kind of systematic way.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way you operate. That's awesome. So can you talk about, because again, you talked about kind of being in a different different asset classes. So you mentioned the mobile homes, the development, the land. So can you talk about kind of the first, deal, kind of the entry point that got you into real estate?
Yeah, so the first entry point, my dad was at the time working for a brokerage in Northern Colorado. The managing broker there was super busy. He was actually a previous professional hockey player and had just a lot going on. He was still involved in that scene. And so he needed an assistant. He was a commercial real estate agent strictly. He did a lot of land development in the Loveland, Fort Collins, Windsor area of Colorado, which is about an hour north of Denver, 45 minutes. And so that's what I originally did. It was kind of creating pro formas, marketing, networking with commercial agents for land development. And I'm also not the most patient person in the world, something I need to work on. And commercial real estate has a really long shelf life. It takes a long time to close a lot of those deals, especially in land development. And I just decided I didn't enjoy that, especially being someone younger. I was looking to kind of build my active income in a quicker basis. And I think commercial is a great asset. From an investment standpoint, I think multifamily commercial is one of the best asset classes there to build long-term wealth. But being a young guy, I got into residential, got licensed as an agent, and worked for many of the top teams in the Denver metro areas in volume and closings and really every metric. And ran into the issue of many of them didn't invest in real estate themselves. And I felt like many of them were pretty cutthroat business people, meaning that they weren't necessarily involved in their clients. A lot of times they looked at their clients as transactions. And for me, it was really important to be aligned value-wise with what I was doing. And I kind of bounced around a number of different brokers, working different spaces, and just decided that I wanted to work based off my values. And so partnering with my dad, we ended up partnering with the business. I got my managing broker's license, and I felt like a real catalyst in my career where I could see some massive growth because I just had the freedom to do what I want in the business. I felt like all the work that I was doing was planting seeds that I'll see a return on in the future instead of needing someone's permission to do anything in my business, as well as just being aligned value-wise. I think is so important because I can go into any presentation, whether it's a listing appointment, whether I'm meeting a seller who has a distressed situation that's looking to sell their property, and I run it from a place of my values and feel great about that every single time. And I think that's really important to do in your life and business.
Got it. Yeah. Well, it's definitely a crucial point. So, what do you think is that kind of the differentiating thing that kind of makes you different from all these different brokerages? You know, because like, what differentiates a good brokerage versus a bad one? You know, like the bad one you mentioned. You know, looking at the clients as a numbers on a sheet. You know, is like one of the things. So,
Yeah.
like, what does it take? You know, is there some sort of a recipe that makes a brokerage a successful one?
It's definitely difficult. I think there's two kind of spectrums of brokers and brokerage teams. There's the huge, massive team that has excellent systems. They're phenomenal at their marketing. They're very efficient and everything. They're experts, but a lot of times the care isn't there. And then the flip side of that, you have kind of the mom and pop agent who's been doing this for 50 years, is still using only legal pads in their systems, struggling in some of the systems and technology side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's really important to find someone first that you just share values with, someone that you connect with, someone that you're going to enjoy working, someone who's experienced and is actual expert, not just in real estate contracts, but also in the marketing of your home. Or if you're selling your property, someone that can help you think of creative solutions, maybe other than selling, someone that's actually going to have your back. And for me, one of our kind of core competitive advantages is really just listening to people, connecting, and being a value first business, meaning whether you work with me or not, I'm going to map out all the solutions I think could help you. I'm going to let you decide that. And if your solution is working with me, awesome. If not, I've given you all the information and the options that could help you. Hopefully that helps. Good luck. Let me know if there's anything I can do in the future. And I really feel like that's the way to conduct business if you really truly want to be successful at a high level.
Got it. Got you. That's a great advice. Thanks for sharing that, Austin. So one of the things that you mentioned kind of, you know, from your perspective is like you're more kind of this, you know, systemic guy, and you look at the things, you know, for the way you look at, and you're all about putting the systems in place. So maybe you can share a few kind of systems that you have put in your personal brokerage business that kind of help you to scale the business at the next level.
Absolutely. So first thing is, I think you need just a centerpiece where you're going to run your business. And for agents or real estate investors, that's going to be a good CRM. There's tons of great CRMs out there. The one that my team uses and the one I've seen a lot of top agents use is called the Real Geeks. Really great integration between a IDX website. All that means is that it connects to the MLS, your local MLS, so people can search the live MLS from your website, as well as a really great back-end follow-up campaigns that you can create that are custom, and just management of your activity and contact with different leads. I think that's number one. You have to have a great system that's up to date and technology-wise. Another tip I would give is make sure that your CRM and websites have third-party integration as a possibility, whether that's through what's called a API key, or there's a great company called Zapier. Let me just write this down so I get the right spelling. I believe it's a Zapier. And all that really does is allow automated tasks. So a lot of agents or real estate investors or business owners are going to have different lead generation tools. So that's our marketing and advertising. That could be Facebook advertising. That could be an inside sales team that's calling. That could be expireds, pre-foreclosures, whatever that is. And what Zapier allows you to do is make sure that all of those inputs are automatically integrated with your system. That way, instead of having a task of putting in a new lead, then setting them up on follow-up, setting them up on follow-up campaigns, marking them as the correct source and tags, all of that is done automatically for you. I think that's incredibly powerful to try to reduce the drag in your workflow. So if there's small activities like that, try to systematize them, automate them, delegate them, or delete them out of your life if they're not top producing activities in your business.
Gotcha. Okay. So talking about kind of your personal business, like how big is the team? Is it only yourself and the father, or there's some other people who involved as a brokers in the company?
Yeah, so we have my dad and I, my mom's involved in the business as well. And we have 2 agents on board right now, 2 others that are going through the process of joining. And then we have some support staff. So I have some inside sales agents that help me prospect. I have an assistant and I have a social media manager. And then on the back end, not a part of the business, I also have a video editor and producer, mainly for the podcast. He's also started to help me with some advertising videos for social media. So that's the team right now. The goal is obviously to grow that, add more brokers, and the next big project I'm working on is hiring some transaction coordinators for the team.
Here you go. So maybe you can talk about that process, because like hiring people is one of probably the difficulties that most of the business people
Absolutely.
are facing. So do you have kind of the process that you go through when it comes to hiring those people?
Yeah, so the process that I've learned from others that I've had on my podcast, talking to experienced brokers, is first thing first, kind of 2 rules. First, always hire people based off shared values, not necessarily skill or experience, because you can teach skills and experience, but if someone's not aligned with your values, that relationship isn't going to be a good relationship. So you want to make sure that you're hiring off values. Second is to hire very slowly, multiple interviews, give homework assignments, kind of test people, and also do an initial 90-day kind of trial period where you're seeing how they're doing in the position, or kind of testing if the relationship's a good fit for them and you. And then be quick to fire. Now, I think that's one of the things I've heard over and over on my podcast when I ask about hiring is we want to give people second chances, right? But if someone isn't picking up a role or isn't aligning with your values, you're going to be much better off. And you're going to thank yourself if you just cut that relationship off instead of trying to continue to give them second chances. So those would be a few quick tools. And then again, coming back to the procedures. So I would think about, I'm a real estate agent looking to hire a transaction. We're going to use this as our example, but this could be anything. You could be a real estate investor looking to hire an acquisitions department, or a prospecting ISA department, or a project manager. Whatever this is, you're going to, and what I do, it's a mixture of legal pads, because I'm old school. I like to write things down and feel a pencil or pen to the paper, as well as tracking with Word docs or OneNote or Evernote or whatever system works for you. Create the daily tasks that are going to be associated with that job, and create a procedure, a checklist. Like I'm into aviation. So like every pilot has a checklist, right? No matter how experienced you are, every time you take off, you're going to do your checklist to make sure that you don't miss anything. So this is even a valuable tool for you that I've utilized, like for me, that I've created these checklists for. But you're going to create that procedure. The next thing you do is go on ZipRecruiter, Indeed, LinkedIn, any of those big hiring websites, and look at the job postings for the job that you're looking to hire. So if this is an acquisitions manager, if this is a TC, and I literally steal like 5 or 6 different job postings, and then I'll piece it together and I'll create my own. But kind of gives you a template that's easy to start from. Now you have your checklist, so what they're going to do. You have your job posting, and now we need a system that's going to make it easy for communication. So 2 things I would recommend would be, 1, Slack. It's used in tons of Fortune 500 companies for instant messaging. You can create teams in it. You can create individual messages, and it's free for small teams. They do have some premium plans, but I just use the free version. So I would use that, and then I would use a project management system. The one that I use is called Asana, A-S-A-N-A. There's tons of other ones, like Trello is a really good one. Monday.com's a good one. But in that, it's going to be a visual board where you can keep track of the daily, weekly, monthly tasks of your team member. You're going to kind of input those checklists, give them as many resources as possible. And then I would also use platforms like Zoom, like we're on right now, and create training videos, create documentation that you can store in like Dropbox or a Google Drive that they can access at any time that they have a question. And that's safeguarding your time. That's also putting in pieces and infrastructure into your business where if this first hire doesn't work out, you've created a lot of infrastructure and progress where the next hire is going to be able to take off from that same point. Or if someone leaves after a year, 9 months, 5 years, you have the documentation of that job posting where you don't have to completely reinvent the wheel.
Got it. Got it. And that's, again, that's a very great advice, because for the people who are watching and the way you operate, maybe you're not like a systemic guy or a girl, you know, like system is a part in business that should be like dead on, you know, because like every business that you're going to take a look at, you know, like we're talking about the like Amazons or Facebooks or the small businesses who are scaling the business fast, like they have the right systems in place. So definitely can't put enough emphasis on that, like how important are the systems in a business.
Absolutely.
So talking about the state of Colorado, right? Like Colorado, if I'm saying that right. But
yeah,
can you talk about the market itself? I mean, how many like how big is the market if we're gonna talk about, you know, like home sales per year?
Yeah. So there's close to 25,000 agents in Denver right now. The average sales price of a home in Denver, Colorado is 600,000. Last month, I think we had just about 3,200 real estate transactions. What we're running into now, though, is a massive shortage of inventory all across the board, especially below luxury listings. So I'd say anything under 600,000 here. There's just a real shortness on inventory. There's not enough people looking to sell. And I think that's from a number of things. One, the uncertainty from COVID. Mm-hmm. What direction are we going in as far as restrictions? Do people have jobs? There's just a lot of uncertainty right now, as well as the election. And this is something that we can look at historical data. Typically, the appreciation in markets, as well as days on market and inventory, all of this goes down in an election year. But the good news is the following year after election, typically all this goes back up. And I'm basically quoting Neil Bawa, Neil B-A-W-A. You're probably familiar with him, but he is a mad scientist when it comes to real estate statistics. And so if you're ever looking for information like that, I would definitely follow his page. Neil, giving you a shout out. And I've also learned a lot of my hiring information from Neil. I'm going to a real estate investing seminar this week called Flipping... It's the 7-figure flippers, and it's Hacking Live is the event. And Bill Allen is the CEO of that company. Really good organization for just leadership as well. Just sharing some of that information. But coming back to Colorado, I think we're going to see the market rebound quite a bit in 2021. The one uncertainty that I really don't know, and I don't think anyone really knows what's going to happen, is there's been the moratorium on evictions. People have been in forbearance, and they're still going to have several months on that. What will happen if the government completely ends stimulus, where all of a sudden people that can't pay their rent and have been evicted for a year are being evicted, or people that haven't been able to pay their mortgage are now being forced to pay their mortgage? The government's role in stimulus will be really interesting to see how that affects the nation and in Colorado. But our market is very healthy. It's a very desirable place to live. We have really great incomes, really good job growth, a lot of good metrics, population growth, crime rate. Before this year was great. This year nationwide has been interesting with the riots and civil unrest. But I think after the election, a lot of things will settle down no matter who wins.
Got it. And the state itself, is it like business friendly? Like what are the biggest employers that we're talking about in the state?
Colorado is an interesting one. The airport is actually the largest employer here, DIA. It's quite a pretty big financial and medical employer. There's a lot of really good hospitals and a pretty good financial downtown, fairly good startup culture. But again, the Colorado really exploded in population growth right around 2013 when they legalized something first in the state. And it's drawn a lot of good things, but also I think maybe not the most productive populations at the same time. And so there's been a huge influx in population from 2013 to now that was not taken into account with city planning. And so some of the infrastructure here, like if you go to Texas or like California, the infrastructure was really well planned. They planned for large populations, great highways and interstate systems, pretty decent public transportation. Denver is a little behind on that. There's a lot of construction and they're doing their best, but now we're a little landlocked, and they did a good job with the future planning. Like out by the airport, there's still a lot of development that's going to take place. They've planned out there, but some areas in downtown are a little kind of like the Seattle market, where it's a little tough with infrastructure, but it's a great market. I love Denver. It's getting a little less business friendly over time. There's definitely people starting to move to markets like Dallas, but that's going to happen when you have people getting priced out. You just don't make as much money as an investor here as you would in like the Midwest on like rental properties on average, but there's a lot more Class A. It's a very desirable place to live. So there's pros and cons to everything, right?
Got it. So talking about the deals that you currently have, like what's up, like who's your client? Is it like a, investor? Because I know like even like coming back to the point what you said, it's a COVID, there's a lot of uncertainty, and like there's a lot of people kind of postponing and they're not investing in the deals. But at the same time, look, the number is crazy. What you mentioned, like what was the number, like transaction previous week? I mean, it's still happening, right? So
there's still a ton of that. And
yep.
It's interesting that right now, I mean, it's just crazy in Denver because the inventory is so low. There's actually a pretty high demand still, which has actually driven prices up during COVID. Like, for example, a lot of houses are selling within a week. I had a showing with a client probably about a couple months ago, but that property had over 100 showings in 2 days.
Wow.
They had 17 offers and it sold for over $120,000 above ask. Now that's an extreme example, but typically right now it's a multiple offer situation every weekend. It's above ask almost on every house, and it's interesting. So we need more inventory.
So why do you think is that happening? Because every time I talk with somebody who's from States, as you know, like I'm not from States, I'm from Ireland. So everybody kind of tells me the same. If the person is a broker, an investor, he's telling me like, Martin, like the money's flooding the streets right now. So why is that happening? Even though like it's a COVID and there's a lot of uncertainty in a real estate sector.
I don't know if I can give you just the golden answer. I think part of it is people have spent so much time at home, and COVID has been a life event. Typically, real estate transactions are triggered by life events, right? Divorce, death, graduation, having a kid, something happened, job promotion, whatever that life event is, typically that's associated with a real estate transaction. And I think this has triggered a lot of life events. I think people have reevaluated their relationships. They've been let go from jobs. It's just triggered a lot of population movement and immigration between cities, between states. So I think that's a factor. I think the fact that there's so much uncertainty, again, has led that inventory to go down, where demand still is fairly consistent with the current stimulus. And some people are still doing great. Yeah, it's definitely hurt a lot of people in our country and in state, but there are people are doing just fine, just working from home, or entrepreneurs like me, where my business has never been this good. So I think if you look at events like 2008 or the dot-com crisis or COVID, the average person looks at it from a fear base with uncertainty. I think what you need to do, though, is shift your mindset to an opportunity base. There's going to be so much opportunity after 2021 and 2022. Like after this event, there's going to be a lot of opportunity in real estate, in business. I mean, for Zoom, for example, just huge valuation increases right now. Office space is going to be really interesting to see what happens in the next couple of years. Just look at things as an opportunity, not gloom and doom. It is going to be important in these coming years.
Yeah, definitely. And I see a lot of multifamily syndicators, they're already taking action, acquiring office buildings and just redeveloping those into apartment buildings. So,
I think that's going to be a great strategy.
Yeah. And the senior, like type of living, I know there's a few operators who are looking to build kind of, the senior places because, which is going to be kind of class A, maybe more kind of type of luxury, with all the amenities that's possible, with all the massage chairs and everything that you can think of. Because again, like that person told me, like, there's a crazy number. I think he said, of course, I'm going to get the number wrong. It's like 10,000 seniors, like new senior come up like every night, like in US. So like like 10,000 people every night, there's like people going, they become a pensioner. So they're looking for those type of opportunities and places to live. So there's a lot of opportunities. So on that note, because again, you mentioned 2022, that's where you're going to start moving towards multifamily deals or syndication. So can you talk about that? Why is it, and just explain people, why is that a hold kind of period for you where you're not going to make any moves, even though like you see a lot of transactions going on in the market? Why are you going to postpone that until the 2022?
So a few things. I'd say the first is when I first got into real estate, I kind of tried to skip building my active income and just being kind of a passive investor. And I think it's really important. You can absolutely do real estate deals with no money. But in my personal opinion, I think it's really important to establish a healthy active income. So you're not worried about paying the bills and that you have some disposable income to invest and to invest seriously. I think that's really important. So with that being said, I've decided that I'm one of those entrepreneurs that totally struggles with shiny object syndrome, where I've chased all the opportunities all the time. And I've come to the point where if I chase multiple squirrels, I'm not getting a squirrel. If I chase multiple nuts or opportunities, I'm not getting anything. So I've really honed in on focus. I think focus is really important and being disciplined in that, on building my brokerage and the active income here. And then along with that, creating all the different departments in this business to the point where I can be free from majority of the day to day, get it to the point where I'm working 3 to 20 hours a week in the brokerage. And a big goal of mine has been to become location free. So I'm not tied to Denver as a market. I can move to Arizona, Austin, and still operate the business. So that's something we're working on. And then 2 is completely different. I love traveling. I'm a huge travel addict. If you can't tell by some of the paintings in the background, I have a scratch off map here that we're talking about before we started recording. But I was actually planning a trip around the world. It was going to be a 100-day trip around the world. It was going to do like 48 stops around the globe of just all these places I've always wanted to see. I've done a couple backpacking trips, but I'm getting to the point where I've realized if I really want to build the business that I want to build, I can't take 2 months off every year. So I've decided to just try to see everything in one huge trip. That was supposed to be this year. Obviously, COVID hit. It's not going to happen. So I'm hoping I can get that trip in next year. And that's why.
There you go. That's a good reason. I mean, traveling all over the world, I think that's something that my wife would love to do also. She said, yeah, traveling all over the world, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Saying yes.
So we'll see what happens with COVID, but I think traveling has been one of the best and most meaningful experiences I've had and spent money on. So definitely trying to get more of that in before I get too settled down.
Oh yeah, it definitely broadens your kind of view on world and the cultures and what's happening in the world, and you become a different person. When you read a 100%. Book, that's fine, but when you travel and you meet and you have these experiences, which is like the best thing that we can have in life, to have these experiences, as many as we possibly can. It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
So again, talking about like your personal goals, and I mean, there's so many different things that I would like to cover, but again, the time is kind of will be an issue here. So kind of coming back to the things that you guys are providing, like from an educational standpoint, like they have the podcast, which is called the Passion First Podcast. So
Mm-hmm.
can you talk about that? What people is going to be expecting when a podcast is going to be like similar vibe, or is it going to be completely different?
Really similar to this, the whole goal and kind of synopsis of that show is to help people create financial and time freedom in their lives by following their passion. I'm like, I feel like a evangelical prophet for the entrepreneur life. I think I see way too many people stuck in a 9 to 5 that they hate. They're stuck in traffic. They're living lives that they're not passionate about. And I want to wake them up and tell them that, yes, the first couple of years of owning your own business or doing something different will be extremely difficult, but you can do this. So it's having successful real estate investors, entrepreneurs, business owners onto the show and just picking their brain on how they've been successful in their business, the tools, systems, and mindsets they've used to get where they're at today.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Yep.
So besides that, you have some courses. Can you mention, because I just want to mention a few things, real estate, travel, real estate investing, and podcasting. So can you talk about what type of courses, like what, is that one course or those are like separate courses?
Different courses. I've created some courses on how to buy a home, how to sell a home, for sale by owner, just giving tips on everything you can do in those situations, all the assets, kind of mapping out the process for people, as well as creating courses for people in the real estate investing sphere, giving travel tips on how to pack your bag, what to bring, different ninja tricks for flights and accommodation, as well as tips for podcasts. And it's really just, again, that value first mindset. So I post a lot of those on teachable.com, udemy.com, and I may be expanding that to other sites like LinkedIn Learning, but you can find those on the website. Currently working on a couple of those that haven't been released, but we're consistently releasing those courses, and a majority of them are going to be free, but we are working on some paid courses that will be very reasonable, but always working on that, trying to put out that value first.
Here you go.
Quality.
So make sure to grab it while it's still free. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, which one is the favorite for the people? Like which one people get the most from these courses?
So far, the one that's been released, the home buying course, has been really well received. We got several thousand people enrolled in it, 5-star reviews on Udemy, and people seem to really enjoy it. It's a little over, I think it's like an hour and a half, all the information, but it covers, I mean, just how the credit process works, how down payments and your debt to income ratio works, how the under contract and home search process works, what exactly is an inspection, what's an appraisal. Really gives you a quick overview so you can be an expert. I mean, how to interview agents, lenders, all that good stuff, so you can be as prepared as possible when purchasing a property.
That's beautiful. And all of that is free, or there's some?
Yeah, completely free. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. We have to make sure we're going to put the link below, so you have to take advantage of that. All we're asking is just a 5-star review. That's all.
Yep, that's all we need.
Awesome. So let's talk some fun stuff again, because I do understand, like, you're building the company, you're doing all these things, and part of it is because you want to do kind of the fun stuff, which is like the traveling and the rest of the things, which is kind of supports the lifestyle. So like the fitness, can we talk about that? Because like my wife, she's a fitness instructor. So like, I understand the whole deal of being fit, but like, how is that like just overall, like where that fits in the business, and how is that important to you personally?
It's one of the top priorities. I think if you really want to be successful in life, I think it's something that I try to study the science of success, the patterns and people that have been extremely successful in life. And I think being well balanced is one of those patterns. They're always healthy. And I've been an athlete ever since I was a tiny little kid, just running around all the time, playing basketball. And that's something that's stuck with me, that mindset of just taking care of my body. And I look at people my age already that are kind of letting themselves go and kind of falling apart, and you see their energy level just collapse. So I think that daily maintenance and that daily discipline of working out is really important. And when I was younger, it was trying to get huge and hit those heavy lifts. And now it's more about longevity. So I try to eat healthy, put the right things in my body, supplements and all that. And then doing a mixture of good cardio workouts, strength training, free workouts. And then I do a lot of strength training, like yoga as well, to keep that flexibility and just longevity health. So yeah. Any specific questions that you have on like workouts, diet?
I'm sure maybe there's a course coming up also in the future for that too. But
we can do that. I'm not the biggest expert. I'll give a shout out to another friend of mine who's on Instagram, Marcus Rice. He has
awesome.
like 67,000 followers, but he's a personal trainer, does an online business. He's one of the guests on my podcast in season 1, and he's full of good memes and information. Yeah, check it out.
Make sure to check it out. No, that's definitely awesome. I couldn't agree more with you about just staying fit. And again, you know, the quote goes about like, you don't want to be kind of the richest person on the planet, which is like having all these health, you know, problems. Like
100%.
At the end of the day, like all the money doesn't matter if you don't have the health. You know, like look at the Steve Jobs. Like it's like it's a shame what happens, but he was like the top, you know, like leader in the industry. He created Apple. You know, like took it from there to what it is right now, and look what happened. You know, so it's very important. And if you want to travel all these 140 countries, you need that longevity.
You need health, yeah, for sure.
So where does the, you know, because I mentioned like I like the small pieces, kind of, you know, like gimmicks or whatever people call them, you know, like you saw me the lightsaber behind you. Like for some people maybe it doesn't matter, but for me it's kind of those reminders, which is like very personal. So kind of I want to ask you, where does that Star Wars theme kind of fits in your entire like story?
Yeah, so I think it starts with me and my dad's relationship. We're really close. He's been a phenomenal father in every way, just letting me make my own mistakes, own decisions, but also being a great just role model in my life. And that was one of his favorite series growing up. I mean, Star Wars in the back when the first episode came out, New Hope in 1977, was just groundbreaking. We look at it now and kids don't even understand, but I still think it's just an incredible story. And from a personal standpoint, I think a lot of people can really connect to the narrative of Anakin Skywalker and, spoiler alert, eventually Darth Vader's journey of how we all have a good and evil in us. Jordan Peterson, I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's one of my biggest mentors in life as well. He talks about being good isn't necessarily being just naive and you've never experienced life. It's understanding that you could be that Nazi guard, that you have the capability of evil in you. And the true mark of a good man or good person is having that ability to be evil and choosing to be good. And I think that hero arc of Anakin Skywalker solidifies that really well. And it's just a cool story. And freaking lightsabers are awesome. So it always stuck with me. So yeah.
Here you go. So anything from aviation standpoint, do you have kind of your favorite airplane or private jet?
No, I'm still working on my private. I got about 20 hours of flight time. And one of my big goals on my vision board is to get that knocked out and get my instrument as well in 2021. So I can start flying around and seeing people in the US and just enjoy that.
Just look for the deals.
Yeah, there you go.
Getting prepared for 2022. Yeah, just looking for
right. Instead of driving for dollars, we'll be flying for dollars.
Exactly. That is awesome. So, and again, like I know part of it is the community and the church, which is very important. Like, and I'm sure you have a relationship with God. So can you talk about why is it so important for us as people, you know, just to give back?
Yeah, I think it's huge. Typically, I'll find if I'm focusing too much on myself in my day-to-day life, I'm just too encompassed on hitting my numbers and doing these things for me. I become I'm not as happy in life than when I'm focused on being very intentional and even the mundane prospecting call or going to the store and just trying to smile at people and make a small difference to improve people's lives, especially right now. I mean, there's a lot of people going through really tough situations, and you don't know what a smile or hey, thank you, hope you have a wonderful day might mean to someone. Or I'll have conversations with people that are trying to sell their house. I'll give them all this information and they're like, what's the catch? I mean, obviously you want me to work with you, but why are you helping me? I just tell them that I think people should be like this. The world would be a better place if everyone did the right thing always. Jordan Peterson talks about this all the time, that your small actions have a massive ripple effect that we can't see or even understand. He uses the example of Stalin's mother. Like, what mistakes did she make to lead to Stalin and the death of millions of people? Could there have been something small that could have changed that? And so I think being intentional in the small things is really important. And for me, that's having a healthy faith, a community. I'm also involved in an organization called Homes for Heroes that specifically gives back to military members, first responders, healthcare workers, and teachers in the real estate transaction process, just as a thank you for the sacrifice they make for our communities and what they do for us. So I think that's just super important, and you're going to be a happier person being a giving person instead of being entitled and focused on yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I couldn't agree more on that. So again, coming back to the point of building your own personal brokerage, which is going really well. Now you're looking to transition 2022 to multifamily. You're building all the businesses, meeting all the people, having your own personal podcast or being on podcasts, looking to travel 140 countries. I mean, doing some incredible things. Again, looking to improve yourself personally still till this day, how to become a better human being, give back to the communities. And we come back to the question, like, what is the things that you're looking to leave behind you? Like, what is the legacy behind it?
I want, again, that mission statement. I want anyone that comes across my content, sees me, I have a conversation with, I want to have a positive impact on their life. Ideally, I'd like to influence them in a positive way, whether that's financially, morally, fitness, travel, whatever that is. And I'd love to ignite their life to completely change them for the better, whether that's them starting their own business, deciding that, hey, I actually can go travel the world. I can go see Ireland for the first time, like I've been dreaming for. I can start that podcast. I can lose the weight, whatever that is. I want anyone that thinks of me and what I've done to be able to say that I've had that positive effect.
Yeah, and that is beautiful. I love the mission statement: impact, influence, and ignite the lives around you. So I think everybody maybe should start using this, because it's it's true meaning of life. Like, because we're all put in here for whatever reason we are, again, to be a business owners, and that's why we have this episode, and that's why we have you on, so people can take those strategies, tips, motivation, whatever they can find in this, to create their own kind of recipe, and make their own life good or better. But at the same time, it's all about igniting other people, and that's why I wanted to have on, because again, you have this statement, and I knew you're going to impact a lot of people just by providing this information. So I really appreciate you being today on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. I've really enjoyed our conversation and love what you do.
Awesome. I appreciate it. One thing, guys and girls, that I want to ask you before you're going to go, if you just shared this episode with a friend of yours, I think, whatever that might be, real estate, if the person is looking to learn real estate just to get some motivation, there's a lot of great pieces, strategies, and tips, and, make sure to pass that along to him or her. Again, Austin, I appreciate you being on the show. And as always, I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.